Hi, Perrine.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so today we have a question from another Brighture student, and this one's about thinking in English. Okay, so here's the translation of that question. Can you read this for me, please?
Sure, sir. So the question goes like this. Will I be able to think in English if I persevere in reading a lot of English books? The reason why I would like to know this is I have a habit of thinking in Japanese first whenever I write essays. I understand that it's important to think in English, yet when I do that, the sentences become poor and I cannot express what I want to say well. Also, I'm aware of my lack of vocabulary.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so here's my take on this. So I would say yes, reading definitely helps. And when I was English learner myself many years ago, I had the same exact problem. I had to think in Japanese before I say anything or write anything. So I also wanted to be able to think in English. And did reading help? Yeah, I would say yeah. Because one of the problems I had was prior to that, the only English materials that I was exposed to were the textbooks. And textbooks are so clean and neat, and it's so unreal. Like nobody talks like textbooks. So though they teach you like new expressions and grammar rules and vocabulary and whatnot, but they don't teach you when those expressions and vocabulary and all that are actually used, like when it was situations, right? So reading books helped to get an insight on when and how those expressions are really used. And then also watching movies and stuff like that helped as well. But reading, I could take as much time as I would like. Whereas like watching movies, it just goes by and you miss it. And back then there was no pause and playback button. So that was the end of it. So reading really helped to me. What's your take?
Well, I would agree with you, Sir Hiroshi, that reading really does help in helping people think in English because back then I also like had the habit of thinking in Filipino first before saying something in English or before writing in English. Then when I got into the habit of reading, what I did was like I tried to imagine myself being the main character or at least one of the characters in the story, and then I would visualize the story. I would think that okay, the story is in my head, it's real, it's happening, and then I'm one of the characters. So when I read the dialogue, so I try to like imagine saying it myself. So in a way, like even if they're not my own words, I was still thinking in English
I see.
because yes, I was reading and then trying to like imagine myself saying it. And then if I just can't imagine myself being the main character, so let's say the main character is male, so what I do is that, or like let's say for example, the main it's not in first person point of view, so it's in the third person point of view. So what I would do is I would read and then react, but not like talk while reading. Like I would just do my reactions in my mind. So let's say for example, I read a thrilling part or like a confusing part or like a frustrating part of the book where the main character or one of the characters does something I didn't like. So I would go like, why'd you do that? Like, oh no, that's not what you should do, or something like that. Or like, girl, go get that, or something like yeah, I would like really react to it. And yeah, that sometimes because I'm just, so absorbed in like what I'm reading, I would not notice myself maybe like thinking out loud or like reacting and laughing and saying all those things out loud and sometimes screaming. But yeah, if you're reading alone, I would recommend doing that. But I mean, if you're reading in a public place, like maybe at a train station, then I would recommend that when you react, you just do it in your
In your
mind.
mind. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
All right. As for me, when I was reading books, I didn't go that far, but I like if I encounter some phrase or expressions that I felt like, oh, I can use this, I would take a note of that or at least underline it, and then I try to memorize it. Sometimes, like when I'm alone, I would practice the phrase or the new words that I want to try using, and that really helped. And so after practicing on my own, then I would actually use it either in conversations or in writing and have my native friends check it. And so that really helped as well. So I think it goes in hand. You have to read for one, but on the other, you have to use them somewhere, somehow. So I would recommend this student to like take note of expressions that he or she would like to use in the future. And then like on the next class, try to somehow use that, that's what I would recommend. What do you think?
I would agree, sir, about like taking notes of like cool or like interesting expressions. But like let's say for example, if the student is like maybe outside and maybe he doesn't have a pen or something like that, maybe he could use a highlighter to I mean if he's okay with highlighting the words in his book. So yeah, highlighting it or like putting some sticky notes and yeah, and maybe like when he arrives home or like at school where he has access to like pens and paper and stuff, then that's I think maybe when he can like start writing or taking notes. And if like he doesn't like if he's not into taking notes, maybe he can just like for example, if he's reading something and he sees like a cool line, cool word or a cool phrase, but like he doesn't know what it means, he could start by looking it up online and then maybe taking a screenshot of the meaning and then try to like think about it again and again and maybe imagine situations where he can use that and use it in that situation and then try to look for a situation where he can use that.
Okay, so try to be creative on how you commit to your memory so that you can actually use them. Okay, that makes sense. One more thing I would add is when I was in college, I had to take some classes that required a lot of reading and writings, like English literature or religion, something like that. And a lot of reading assignments, a lot of writing assignments. And sometimes I would be reading till like 1 or 2 a.m. And then I would start writing my 5-page paper. And then by the time I'm done, it's like 4 or 5 a.m. And I would hear birds chirping outside. And I'm like, oh my God, here comes the morning again. I lost so many sleeps over those years. And that pressured me so much so that I stopped thinking in Japanese because that was a waste of time. Like, if I had to think in English eventually, why would I want to think in Japanese first? Just write in English, like from the get-go. That's what I did. And after like first semester, I was already starting to think in English. And then by the time the second semester is done, I was like, I really rarely went back to thinking in Japanese. Well, besides there was no Japanese friends around, so there was no use anyway. So that's, I would say pressure also helps. So maybe he can take a lot of writing classes and then pressure himself. What do you think?
Yes, sir. I agree with you, sir, because that's also like one of the things that helped me in college, like the pressure, like, the deadline is maybe this afternoon and maybe I still haven't written anything. So, yeah. And, because when you're under pressure, you're like, okay, there's no time to like really think about it. You just have to like, okay, think a little and then write
Yes, almost like
something
a
like that.
reaction, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. I still do. Anyway, all right, so let's wrap this up. So then the number one, reading does help, right? So as part of becoming a fluent English speaker, reading books would actually help you build vocabulary, expressions, and when and how to use those expressions. Would you agree?
Yes, sir. Definitely agree.
Okay. Then number two, you can take different approaches on how to memorize those expressions or words that you would like to be able to use.
Yes.
And then your way of doing so was maybe underlining or highlighting the books, or also reacting to books as you're reading. Okay. Mine was like maybe underlining, and then when I'm alone, I would just like actually practice them as though I'm actually using those sentences. So then number three, I would say use them. Not just read, but use them, whether in speaking or writing, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then last point, pressure helps. Okay, so maybe he can take a lot of reading and writing classes and then keep himself busy. And
Yes.
then when you have so little time, you'll be forced to think in
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay, anything to add?
Well, aside from that, I think, well, aside from the pressure, maybe you can also like, maybe, you have to like have the will to actually start thinking in English. So maybe you could also do something like, maybe when he wakes up in the morning, he would try to think in English starting at that point, like at that time of the day. And he could maybe go like, okay, so what should I do today or something like that. Think in English.
Okay, I used to do like, I used to try to describe what I see in English in my head. Like, let's say I'm waiting for a bus at a bus stop. I see yellow car driving by. I see a mom with two little kids, whatever. And I tried to do it in English only. That helped. And nowadays, like my cell phone, the default language is in English. My computer is also default language to English. I'm learning Chinese now, so I changed my Facebook setting to Chinese, and then I don't understand anything. But interesting, like 6 months later, I really am not having any problem lately. So maybe that's one way, that's one form of reading. So like,
yes, sir.
change your environment, right?
Yes, start with the phone.
Yeah. Okay, I think that pretty much wraps up the discussion. And then so to the viewers of this video, if you like the content, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And then we'll see you soon again. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.